Sorry. I call the Right Honourable David Carter.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and I certainly want to speak to Supplementary Order Paper 76, 77 and 78. But before I address those three supplementary order papers, I want to ask a question of the Minister and the Chair, the Honourable Andrew Little. And he has said twice now through these committee stages that there's every safeguard in this legislation because it requires 2/3 of a caucus to support the decision of the parliamentary leader. I know the New Zealand caucus reasonably well. Andrew Little is nodding his head because he knows the New Zealand caucus reasonably well. I want him to stand and name 3 current members of the New Zealand First caucus who would disagree with Winston Peters. Won't take long. Name 3. Name 3 New Zealand First members who would disagree. Name 1. Name 1. The answer is silence, so that's how good the safeguard is. Madam Chair, as we debate this legislation, it's our duty to try and make bad legislation as good as possible. And that's why I think Supplementary Order Paper number 76 has merit. What this SOP says in the name of Chris Bishop is let the next Parliament create a select committee and have a look at how this legislation's worked. What's wrong with that, Mr Little? Why can't we put in some safeguards? Mr Little keeps rising to his feet saying this legislation's safe, it's democratic, even though it puts us in the company of Zimbabwe, Robert Mugabe. I don't think it is safe. National members have spoken with passion about changing the legislation. We acknowledge we haven't got the numbers to stop it. This legislation will go through, shamefully, not because of good contribution from Labor members. They haven't stood to their feet and contributed. Shortest speech possible, calling for a closure motion. And I know why. I know why Peter Williams, CEO, hasn't risen to his feet. Because his throat is sore. That big rat got stuck halfway down and he knows it. He's been sucking strepsils all morning and his throat's not feeling any better. Madam Chair, Supplementary Order Paper 77 then talks about if we won't allow a select committee of Parliament to review it, allow the Electoral Commission to have a look at it. Supplementary Order Paper 78 says if we won't allow a select committee to do it and we won't allow the Electoral Commission to do it, allow the Representation Committee to have a Representation Commission to have a look at the working of this dreadful, dastardly legislation. And I cannot see any good reason why Labor would not support that. What's wrong? Mr Little laughs, he smirks, and I've just suddenly realised why he doesn't want it to come back to this Parliament. Because he'd have to sit there for 16 hours knowing that we're right, knowing that the National Opposition is absolutely right, and he's got to keep on sucking on that rat. That's why Mr Little doesn't want this legislation back for an examination. He's had to stomach it because they did a deal with New Zealand First as they signed a coalition deal after the last election. It's the 32 pages which this open, transparent, accountable government won't release, but I guarantee you deep in those 32 pages is an absolute commitment for New Zealand First legislation to pass with the support of the Labor members and with the support of the Green members. It's a shame, and it could be easily fixed simply by allowing a review to check the workings of it, because we know how Mr Peters treats some of his caucus. Dennis O'Rourke was a nice guy. He was a good guy. Richard Prosser was a nice guy. Ria Bond was a very nice person. Great contributor. Where are those three now? Fell out with the leader.
I call Brett Hudson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I rise to support the idea of these reviews of the